Municipal courts are cousins to justice of the peace courts, but there are some significant differences. We'll talk about the similarities and differences in this screencast. Just like justice courts, municipal courts are granted criminal jurisdiction by the Code of Criminal Procedure. Remember, justice of the peace courts cover unincorporated areas. Municipal courts, on the other hand, cover the area within an incorporated city or town. That means the village, town, or city has a mayor and/or a city council, its own fire department or police department, or they contract for services from other agencies for public safety. A municipal court has original and exclusive jurisdiction for all offenses within the city that are against city ordinances. City ordinances are laws that a city passes that only apply to a person while they are within the city limits. An example might be a leash log for your dog, a law banning fireworks in city parks, or a law prohibiting you from having saggy pants. These types of laws aren't found in any of the Texas code books, are only enforceable within the city's limits, and typically would be passed by the city council. There are three types of ordinances a municipal court has jurisdiction over. The first kind would involve a fine no greater than $2,000 for violations of fire safety, zoning, which are ordinances which prohibit building something like a strip club right next to a daycare center, or public health and sanitation. The second type of ordinance would involve an offense which may be punished by a fine no greater than $4,000 for violations of the dumping of refuse. The third type of ordinance that a municipal court would have original and exclusive jurisdiction over would be any other ordinance which involves a fine no greater than $500. This would be an ordinance such as no loud music in a residential area, or an ordinance banning large signs posted in front yards. Again, these ordinances are fine only. A city council doesn't have the power to make a law that is anything other than a fine. Speaking of fine only, we've touched on this in a previous screencast. Justice of the peace courts have original jurisdiction of criminal cases punishable by fine only. In other words, C misdemeanors, which are found in Texas codes such as the Penal Code and the Alcoholic Beverage Code. In most cases, the Justice Court will gladly allow the municipal court to handle these offenses which occur within the city limits to reduce their workload. The Code of Criminal Procedure addresses one more situation which might make for complicated enforcement. A situation when two cities are located right next to each other. For example, let's say these two shapes represent the jurisdictions of two cities on a map, and you are a peace officer in the purple city which has an ordinance preventing loud noise in a residential area. A citizen calls you and says, "Look, I live in a residential area in the purple city, and my neighbor who lives across the street in the light blue city is making a loud noise." If the light blue city doesn't have a noise ordinance, you have to tell the citizen there's nothing you can do. Laws are made to protect and also enforce social norms. In the case we've just described, a city ordinance designed to maintain peace and quiet is pretty worthless for the citizen who lives on the border. The Code of Criminal Procedure recognizes this and allows for a buffer zone of sorts if one of the two cities has more than 1.19 million people. If this is the case, then the ordinance of one city may overlap into the other city, so you don't have to tell the citizen he's out of luck. Instead, you call your friend who's on duty as a peace officer in the light blue city and ask him or her to go write the loud neighbor a ticket for the noise ordinance which exists in the purple city. In other words, the cities have concurrent jurisdiction over the ordinance if they agree. The Code of Criminal Procedure sets it at 200 yards from the city border for C misdemeanors, or by a half a mile for certain offenses under the Health and Safety Code.